Good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for finding time to joining us this afternoon, about 6 minutes past noon here in Nairobi. My name is Miriam Ogutu. The show is Diplomatic Clicks, and today we are going to bring you up to date with the situation in Sri Lanka. As we all know, there's been some turmoil and some chaos in Sri Lanka following months of protest, and about a lot of it has been based on the economic crisis that the country has been going on. And so Sri Lankans got tired of whatever situation they feel was not working for them. And as we speak right now, Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa fled the country. Remember, he was trying to flee the country yesterday. He was not likely to do that, but he's been able to flee the country hours before his promised resignation and amid widespread protest over his handling of the country's worst economic crisis since independence in 1948. And Rajapaksa, his wife, and two bodyguards flew on a Sri Lankan Air Force plane to Mali, the capital of Maldives. The Sri Lankan Air Force confirmed a statement on Wednesday, that is earlier on today, and news agencies earlier reported the president's departure for Mali, citing unnamed government and immigration officials. So the president has said he will resign on Wednesday, that is today, to make way for a unity government after tens of thousands of protesters stormed his official residence on Saturday, demanding he step down. But moves to cut taxes depleted government revenues, and the country, Rajapaksa, who helped end the country's long-running civil war as defense secretary during his elder brother's administration more than a decade ago, was elected president in 2019, promising security and stability. But moves to cut taxes depleted government revenues, and the country began running out of fuel, food and medicines because it could no longer afford to import them. So his brother was the leader of the country a couple of years ago, and his name, I think, was Mahinda. So the Rajapaksa family has been very part and parcel of the Sri Lankan politics, but it appears people they've had enough of that. So joining me to help in just looking at some of these issues and perhaps what we could borrow as far as some lessons from Sri Lanka is concerned, I'm joined by Douglas Kirimi from Meru County. Douglas, good morning. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining.
Thank you, Miriam Ogutu, and also to our crew at our headquarters, and also thank you for having me on the show, Miriam, this afternoon.
All right. So I think what happened in Sri Lanka has happened in just a few countries. We saw during the Arab uprising that started in Tunisia at that time, when people really decided enough was enough, and they protested and led to the then President Ben Ali to flee from Sri Lanka, from Tunisia at that time. And we've seen that in very few occasions across the world. So perhaps a lot of leaders especially in areas you've seen where there's been poor governance, some bad economic decisions, and the lives of people are becoming very difficult. And right now it has been compounded by the situation that has been brought about by the war in Ukraine and also COVID-19. While we thought we were just about to get out of the COVID-19 and start to rebuilding our economies around the world, then the war in Ukraine, happened and is continuing to happen, and the effects are being felt globally. And perhaps what are some of the lessons that leaders, especially those in Africa, we are known to have notorious poor governance as far as our leaderships are concerned. What are some of the lessons that they could learn about when people have had enough?
Thank you, Miriam. I wish that what happened in Sri Lanka happened in Africa, because number one, leaders in Africa should be able to run that the power belongs to the people. It is for their public good, welfare, and also for their own nation. If the people feel that you no longer serve their own interests, they can be able to take over that power. But also for the people in Africa, the prolonged stays in power. A few days ago, Jose dos Santos of Angola died, a man who was ruled with an iron fist for decades in Angola. And after rooting their country dry and the people persevered under his leadership, the daughter became even the richest woman in Africa and all that. It is also time for us to know that power is very transient, because for even Jose dos Santos, he has also gone home. He retired, left the power to a friend, thinking that it is going to also be forgiven for his crimes and all that. But also, he has also died. And there are so many things we should be able to understand when you get to power. Power is temporary, and the power is for doing good. Power is for bettering the lives of the people of your nation. I think that for Africans and our leaders here in Africa, we need to learn that power is very transient. You cannot be lording over the people and their lives and get away with it. For Sri Lanka, it is showed that people can really rise up against a government, a repressive government, even a government with a constitution, because that constitution, most of these constitutions cannot supersede that, except under dictatorship, cannot supersede the expectations and the aspirations of the people. In Sri Lanka, they decided that enough is enough, and they invaded their own version of state house, the presidential palace, and also made sure that they have chased away the president, and they decided that they need a fresh start for their own nation. There are people in Congo, Brazzaville, the Republic of Congo, who have also stuck to power. Dennis Sueso Guema, as he stayed in power. Dennis Sosu Guema, as he stayed in power for so long. We need to also ask him to also step down so that he can be able to help the democratic process to continue taking place in their country. We cannot grow a country where you are presiding over one country, over one place, alone. Over one country, you are presiding over that country and making sure that you, as a president, you are ruling over that people. The people of Sri Lanka have also awakened the Arab arising in Arab nations, especially in Africa, like you have mentioned, Miriam, that happened a couple of years ago. Now it shows that people are more determined to take their country and also the affairs of their nation into their own hands. They cannot trust a single man to make decisions for them. Another lesson that Africans and their leaders should be able to run is you cannot make borrowing decisions and the control of debts and how a nation is run, especially financing government projects and also making sure how the country is governed, without even consulting the people or without minding the welfare of the very same people that you're taking loans and also debts or grants, conditional grants that you receive from other development agencies across the world to better their lives, Miriam. Because for people in Sri Lanka, I saw the pie chart that was demonstrating how they have taken their loans. They've taken loans from France, they've taken people from Britain, they've taken loans from Japan, they've taken loans from China, they have taken loans from virtually every other lending institution or country that is willing to lend them money. It is a lesson that we should be able to run, that nobody can be able to supersede the expectations and the aspirations of the people. In as much as people would also accept the borrowing from these African leaders, the people also want borrowing that is controlled borrowing, or borrowing that has a ceiling that can also protect the lives of people so that they can be able to afford basic needs and also can be able to afford to educate their children and also live better lives, Miriam. If the kind of borrowing that has been done by the Sri Lankan government can be able to run their lives, to ruin their lives, and the people of Africa also continue taking loans, and actually some of these loans continue bettering the lives of a few people. Miriam, we've mentioned here for a period of over 3 years now how people use proceeds of corruption, or a debt is taken to finance a public project and that money is diverted, and that money now benefits a few or a clique of a few people or proxies of a particular leader. And that money, if now it is not bettering the lives of the people, we will have a regime ending the way we saw the regime of the former president of Sri Lanka ending by the people power. And also, number 3, we need to also know that the people power is more important than the people in power. Because if people decide that they are going to also invade the state house, there is no amount of firearms, there is no amount of shooting or firing at them that can be able to stop them Because Miriam, we have a continent that is run by hooligans, criminals, and economic saboteurs of their own nations. For example, we have people like the former president of Somalia, Mohamed Abdullahi Faramajo, who made unilateral decisions concerning his own nation without even consulting the people that sent him to to Villa Somalia, or that sent him to office. You cannot make unilateral decisions, or especially decisions that touch on the national security of their own country, without necessarily involving the aspirations or the dreams of the people. Probably not even directly to the people. You can do that using representatives of the people, members of parliament, senators, and regional representatives of various regions of your country. And that way, we can be able to govern a country and also let, especially the people of Africa, thrive the way we know it today. Number 4, Miriam, I think from my perspective that government needs to control the borrowing. Leaders need to control borrowing and also put a ceiling on what they can be able to borrow, so that the people can be able to get basic and services at a cheap price or an affordable rate. Because Miriam, you cannot do like what Sri Lanka did, that people could not afford the food. We saw people, ordinary people, dignified people, invaded the kitchen of their president, eating assorted foods from abroad, food that could not be afforded in the streets of Sri Lanka. In the countryside, people could not be able to afford the kind of food that the president of Sri Lanka was the aid of luxury that he was swimming in, whereas the populations are suffering. There are people in Africa today who continue clinging into power, and people that should be able to run the script of Sri Lanka and know that apart from even the Arab uprising, that people can also rise against your government and send you packing. There is a president of Djibouti that has ruled for eons, president of Eritrea that has ruled for eons. There are people, even our neighbors, who have ruled forever. There are people who have never known another president until they've forgotten about elections, because every election is won by one man. People in South Sudan today, President Salva Kiir Mayardit is a president who has ruled South Sudan since 2011. We need to also have new crop of leaders for us to be able to let that country go forward. The youngest nation in Africa today has one president since 2011. It is wrong, Miriam. It is not even democratic. We need to be able to give an opportunity to other people. And also, number 5, Miriam, as I conclude on that point, I think people should be able to step out of office if they can no longer control the commodities. They cannot be able to control how to govern their own country in the middle of rack, Miriam. Because when Sri Lanka borrowed and overborrowed and also made inflation eat their country, the president should have mitigated that problem with some measures. He did not do anything to caution his own country people. He did not take elaborate measures. And if he did, he did not do to the satisfaction of his own population, the people that sent him to the presidential palace. We need to be able to have president, we have to have leaders that have the welfare and public good of their people at heart. The interest of the people supersedes the interest of that particular president or leader that is in power. And to people and dictators that are in power today, you need to understand that the people power is important than the people in power. And at the end of the day, when the people are fed up with you, they are going to take you out of office. Remember, coups have happened before. In the recent past, even in Mali, they happened like two coups in succession. And there are people also in Africa who continue ruling their countries with an iron fist, like Ben Ali, like you have mentioned, of Tunisia, and Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. We need to also understand that as a continent and as countries, we cannot rod over the people and also expect them to continue crapping for you as you borrow, and also that kind of borrowing that is not even controlled, Miriam. For example, there is no way you can borrow and borrow and borrow, and at the end of the day, without an end, to continue funding major infrastructural projects, that even you continue siphoning money from the same projects after receiving kickbacks, after the loans have been approved, you continue again receiving kickbacks from the projects again and expect the lives of the people are going not to be hit by an inflation, and that inflation again is also going to cause an uprising to the people. I think the most important lesson of all is that people will understand that people in power will understand that people power, or the power that is held by the people, is important than the power of the people in power, Miriam. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And you've raised a good amount of issues there, citing some of the leaders we've had in this continent whose governance have been questionable. And of course, you brought up the issue of now the late Jose Eduardo dos Santos, the former president of Angola, who served that country for 38 years. He died on Friday in Barcelona in Spain. And I think he's meant to be buried, but the family has said his last wishes was for him not to be brought back to Angola, but to be buried in a private ceremony in Spain. But the current president, Lorenzo, felt it will be befitting to give the former president a state funeral, but the family has refused because we know how that has played out. Their relationship, remember, Jose dos Santos picked the current president to replace him. He was a very trusted ally of him, and when this current president became president, he started doing things a different way, and he became his own person, and he started going after the former first family because they were involved in a lot of corrupt dealings in the country. And as you rightfully reminded us there, his daughter, Isabel dos Santos, was named by the Forbes as Africa's richest woman, and a lot of that wealth, it is said, that was not acquired in a very straightforward way, and there's some cases she's still dealing with globally. And also, until he left power, he was at that time the longest serving head of state in Africa. He had served for 38, but right now Paul Biya has beaten that record. Not Paul Biya, but another person that you've also brought up, Teodoro Obiang of Equatorial Guinea. I think come November this year, he would have served for 43 years. He's still there. And his son is the deputy president of Equatorial Guinea. Like every time I say that, my head sort of spins. And then we've seen how, and then after him, he served for 43 years. And then Paul Biya, I think, was also served for a long time. And the issue with that, and why perhaps we can draw comparison with the Sri Lankan situation, is because the president, outside of being accused of economic incompetence and the public opinion turned against both the Gotabaya and the wider Rajapaksa family, his family has dominated the Sri Lankan politics for nearly 20 years. You know, one of his brothers was a minister and another one served before him. And so that nepotism and how we've seen that play out a lot here in the continent. So perhaps how can the leadership in this continent learn? You know, we saw the president of Malawi tried that out, didn't work out well for him. He fired everybody, or majority of his cabinet, and now he has learned that you can't have very close friends and families in your government. They will not work. So now he has to bring people who are competent to help him run the government. But the issue of nepotism is a thing that we have to deal with here in the continent as far as our governance system is concerned. So is there maybe a lesson our leaders over here can learn as far as family affairs and looking for people who are competent to help you in running the country's business? And before you answer, all right, Douglas, take that in before I bring in Dr. David Matanga. The issue of nepotism.
Thank you, Miriam. We need to learn as the people in Africa and also leaders that the power to lead the people is everyone can lead. Like, it is not invested in a particular family, that a particular family should always be leading the people, their son or daughter take over everything. And I need to talk about dead people don't tell tales. So Jose dos Santos will not be able to respond to this. But if you look at it, in Angola, the daughter was accused of taking key projects or key paracetos or anything that had to make money. It had to be Isabel dos Santos. And they made sure that the daughter was positioned in such a way that she dominated the business world, whereas the father was the dominant political figure. In Uganda, we have a president who has ruled Uganda since 1996, President Yoweri Museveni, who said that the problem in Uganda is that people or leaders stick to power for so long. Many years later, after Museveni came to power, I was also born. I'm now a grown man, and I'm qualified to run for president under our constitution. Museveni is still in power. We are told Muhoozi Kainerugaba is being grouped to be the president of Uganda.
The wife
Today,
is a
the
minister,
Minister of Education
remember?
is Janet, Mama
Yes.
Janet Kata Museveni. Today, Paul Biya and their children and their relatives are ruling Cameroon. Today, Denis Guesso are ruling the Republic of Congo. And today, we have so many people who were ruling under Joseph Kabila, under Joseph Kabila in Congo, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, who are in DRC today. They are in the military, they are in the political class, and everywhere. Miriam, a time has come for us to realize that if your father was a president, it's not a must for you to be president. That country can do without your family. And also, Miriam, I like the way the Western countries operate. It is not a sin for you to follow the steps of your own father and also become a nice president and become an effective leader for your own nation. It is the democratic right to do so. I cannot begrudge the children of Museveni and others for becoming president. Even our own president is a son of a former president. Even the leading presidential candidate Raila Amolo Odinga in the Republic of Congo, of Kenya, is a son of a former vice president in our country. There is no problem with that. The issue is, you cannot keep your hegemony in power to continue looting and preferring public resources in the name of good governance, in the name of promoting governance in your own countries. For example, in South Sudan today, if President Mayardit is going to leave power today, he is going to leave a trail of relatives and friends and cronies who are going to control South Sudan. You'll be remote controlling that country. For example, in Tanzania, we have people who have also gone and served their time as president, but their sons have also come over, and the people are also there controlling from the family levels. We need to also let people go and let the countries run their own affairs without the influence of former president or former powerful ministers. And I have no problem with anyone that gets into any position by merit. For example, if today Raila became president, it's not because the father helped him to become president. It's because of sheer hard work and also the love of the people of Kenya that they want Raila Amolo Odinga to be their own president. But this issue of pushing your people to become president, deputy president, for example, Paul Biya, the Equatorial Guinea president, the deputy president is the son. You cannot tell me it's because of merit or because it's because of competence.
No, not Paul.
No,
not Paul Biya. That is in Equatorial, Teodoro Obiang. Equatorial Guinea, the longest serving president in Africa. His son is the deputy president, but Paul Biya is the second longest serving, but also he does have a lot of his relatives. Nepotism has really plagued his government, so you're also right on that, but Teodoro is the one that has his son as his deputy.
Yes, Miriam. So my point as I conclude on this is that people should stop nepotism in Africa, and especially in our governments. We cannot leave hegemonies around or proxies around to continue controlling Africa and controlling the resources, the resource-rich countries in Africa, to continue your own empire. You are a king that rules over the people and making the people of Africa slaves. In Chad, we had President, the one that was killed the other day. What is his name?
Of Chad?
Yes, the former
Deby,
president of
Idris,
Chad left
Idris
the son
Deby.
to be in charge of that country.
Idris Deby, yes.
Yes. We cannot, Miriam, draw the people of Africa into a closet or draw them near your own tendencies of greed and also tendencies of sticking to power in the name of my family is competent. In Uganda, Muhoozi Kainerugaba is the commander of land forces. Are there no generals in Uganda who can become commander of land forces? In Uganda, the same Uganda, Sam Kutesa is the Minister for Foreign Affairs, the in-law of the president. This medium, it doesn't even make sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hear you. All right. Thank you so much. At this point, I'll bring in Dr. David Matanga. Doctor, I'm sure you've been listening, and of course, the current developments in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has declared a state of emergency as thousands of people mobbed the Prime Minister's office after the country's president flew to Maldives following months of widespread protest against an economic crisis. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had promised at the weekend to resign on Wednesday and clear the way for a peaceful transition of power, but he has since flown out of the country. And right now the country is under a state of emergency. That is the latest.
The army should just take over. Just take over. Declare a state of emergency.
They just have.
Eh?
They have declared a state of emergency. The army.
Yeah, but they have not taken over. The army should just take over. That's it. And declare, suspend the constitution, maintain peace, and allow a new transition. That's the only thing that I can summarize now, because there is no way you are gonna control the crowds. The entire security agencies have become compromised. All of them have come back. They want.
Doc, we're having a problem with your connection. And as we wait for that to clear up, Sri Lankan President Gotabaya, who fled to Maldives, telephoned the Speaker of Parliament saying that his resignation.
The situation.
We had a problem with your network there, but go ahead, we can hear you now.
My network, surely?
Yes, just a little bit, but you're good now.
Okay. The real problem of this, why Africa should be, what lessons can Africa learn from the Sri Lanka situation, are the following.
Doc, we've lost you there again. We apologize for that. We seem to be having a bit of a technical hitch from Dr. Matanga's part, but once he's able to join us, then he will continue. As I was saying, he telephoned the Speaker. Doc, you're back. Sorry, we lost you again.
What is going on with my internet? It's very strong. I don't know what is the problem again.
Technology sometimes can be funny.
It is your side, Miriam, not mine.
Could be.
It's your side. Yeah, you are. My internet is very strong. So, as I was saying, before the internet interrupted me, it is mismanaged economies, corruption, rampant. Now with this extension of the Ukrainian war, we don't know when it will end. One of the two powers has to crush the other, and or we go again to the United Nations or the League of Nations like in the Second World War. When the Second World War got finished, we went on table to form the League of Nations. There is a rebirth. I was doing a rebirth on Monday, the rebirth of Africa. I think there is need for a rebirth of the entire world. If you can see someone telling you that he has sent a rocket that has run for 12 billion miles, a star, they have found a star. I think you saw something like that, Miriam. They have found a star. And from here to there is 12 billion miles. 12 billion miles. Jesus, we need a new order. There is need of a new order. So, to me, I think this world is almost coming to a certain stop and a new order will be imposed, because now they have discovered there that the hydrogen there, you can grow some crops. Medium is gone again.
No.
Because if you don't shake your head, then I know it is gone. You feel like you are in one place. Then I get.
No, we
So
can hear you.
look at the situation there, Miriam. Things are changing on the planet. This planet Earth, we might be having another several planets. So when you look at all these things, the military in Sri Lanka should not wait until the country goes to war or to complete the breakdown, because Sri Lanka is a country that has had war with Tamil Tiger, rebels fighting the other. You know, there are two groups of India, the black ones. There is a black India. That's the only state where I find very different, categories of people. The Indian from Sri Lanka is completely dark. And most of this colony, especially Sri Lanka, the systems grew up people. They took some people to school, they left some not to go to school. And that is where the problem started from. In our country, Uganda, you saw the Northerners were told you have to go in the army. Any Northerner reaching senior 4, senior 5, senior 6, university is told you find him in the army, you find him in the police, you find him in the prisons. He's a superintendent of prisons, he's a superintendent of police. Let me tell you why. That was a divide and rule situation of the colonizers. But hasn't it come now that if you look at the Sri Lanka scenario, this Sri Lanka scenario, slowly, this man started by saying he wants a bottom up. And he went and borrowed money. It is a bottom up. You put that, I've sent to Stephen. Stephen, put it there. Let's look at the bottom up. This guy, the man who fled. And Miriam, were you watching a clip where immigration officers refused to stamp the president's passport? You can, if you have reached that level, what country are you leading? Immigration officers, until he had to go get the Air Force. And the Air Force people just got a plane, flew him out of Sri Lanka. But the immigration officers rejected. They even said, no, you are not boarding the plane. That is a very serious, determined. If I were a dictator, I would start first of all go to my bedroom and lock myself and say, Allah, if such a thing can happen to another president, what about me? But dictators usually don't fear death. Neither do they fear anything coming their way. They think they will be fighting because they create instruments of oppression. So these are some of the things that I saw. The comparison, Africa could be in a worse position that should the tactics of regime change sponsored, equipped by the United States of America in Pakistan, for example, since they departed from that region, they have not left any peaceful country around there. And apparently most of those countries in Asia are siding with Russia. They don't see any reason as to what Russia has done to warrant them not to support it. So we are all vulnerable, as Boris Johnson said. There is no person on earth who is not vulnerable. We are all vulnerable to this type of situation that is taking place. it will take place somewhere in a country somewhere. Because the timetable has a revolution has no timetable, Miriam. It can just come and it will happen. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Unless there's anything else, but I think that is a good summary on the situation right now that is continuing to unfold in Sri Lanka. And the fact that, Doc, you brought up that issue of the immigration officials refusing to stamp the visa for the president. Perhaps Sri Lanka has stronger institutions. I don't know, maybe that's what we need here. But it's true. Any dictator, especially from this continent, should start worrying. Because when the people are determined, and I'm seeing them swimming in the palatial swimming pool and enjoying the, the opulence that their taxes has been providing for the head of state. So people's power is something that you can't stop. And maybe that is the bigger lesson that our people should learn from the continent. Doc, thank you so much. Unless there's anything else you'd like to add.
No, Miriam, I have nothing much to add.
I can see you're very tired. Okay, you get some rest. Thank you so much. And thank you, Douglas Kirimi. They did a wonderful job today, corresponding from various areas that they were situated, together with Chevan and Cladwell and Kiptanui earlier on, and we had a very nice show earlier on. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We will
continue with it, Miriam. That was great. Tomorrow, let's do more of the legacy. Douglas, thank you very much. I was going to write a message to you. I was watching and I showed people what we are doing. Thank you very much. Continue with the good job. Continue with the good work. Thank you very much. Let me take a rest. Let me go down. I will come back at 3 p.m. to present the situation in diaspora dispatches of His Excellency President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta's foreign policy. What has it gained for Kenya? If Kirimi and others call them to be online, at that time we shall discuss it. And perhaps tomorrow, if there are anything left, Miriam will pursue the same under the legacy in the morning. Thank you very much, Miriam. God bless you. And Sonko is back, so I am shocked. And this has opened floodgates to hell at this election.
Kenyan elections, Kenyan politics, a lot of acrobatics. I saw him yesterday with near President Kenyatta, and I said, okay, being
near the president, that was okay. But now the court to tell him.
But he was near him as who? He's not the governor. Why was he there as who? He's not the current governor. He's a former. Dog. Let's talk about it tomorrow.
He wanted to do a redemption strategy.
I think it's working. Look at that.
It has worked, miracle.
It's gymnastics. Thank you so much. We'll see you later on. Doc, we'll see you later on at 3 p.m. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye.